Hi there, and welcome to my channel. I'm Howard Schenker, Agent 7200 here in Hermanus. And today we're diving into the world of home financing with a very special guest, Natasha Champion, Regional Sales Manager from Ooba Home Loans, South Africa's top bond originator. If you're considering buying a home, understanding the bond application process is crucial. Ooba simplifies this journey by offering free services that increase your chances of securing a home loan. They liaise with multiple banks on your behalf, ensuring you get the best possible deal without any of the hassle. Today, we'll explore how Ooba can assist you in navigating the home loan landscape, from pre-approval to final approval. Let's get started.
Hey Natasha, thanks so much for joining us from a very chilly and overcast Hermanus. I hope the weather's much better up there.
Thanks for having me, Howard. It's sunny here in Joburg, so it'll hit you morning and evenings, but we've got blue skies.
Wow.
Best city in the world.
Well, yeah, the weather in Joburg is always wonderful. Anyway, let's get chatting. Let's talk about Ooba and what you guys can do for us. So, can you explain what a bond originator does and how Ooba assists home buyers in securing home loans?
Absolutely. So I think it's kind of the best kept secret in real estate, despite all our marketing endeavors. Clients are often pleasantly surprised that a service exists that is purely buyer-centric and is there to make sure they receive the best deal at no cost to them as buyers. So what mortgage originators do is effectively we brokers between the client and the banks. So we've got long-standing bank contracts with up to 9 lenders. We package your application as the buyer and we present it for the best possible chance of approval. Once we get our answers, Howard, we go ahead and negotiate between the banks. We always want the buyers to remember that we're not here to take them away from their own banks, but we can certainly make their bank work that much harder for their business with a comparative quote.
Yeah, and doing a little bit of negotiation always goes a long way. So what is the Ooba Bond Indicator and how does it help potential buyers in the pre-approval process?
So Howard, we had a couple of products in incubation and COVID gave us the opportunity to go live because we had a bit of time. So what had been bubbling under was an instant qualification, but more qualified than what you do on a basic bank website, which is very much based on clients' declarations. So the Ooba Bond Indicator is going to hit the 2 main qualification criteria that the banks use to qualify buyers. Number 1, affordability, and number 2, credit profile. But I think what's valuable about the Ooba Bond Indicator is that we can get eyes on a credit score, but we're not pulling a complete credit report. So there's no mark left on the client's bureau profile. It's what we call a soft check.
Yeah.
So we can get a score. We know that the minimum score to be assessed for a home loan is 610. And anything below that, we'll do further investigation. But anything above that, we've ticked the first box. Stepping to affordability, that is to an extent declaration based. So the clients would have to declare income and expenses. If you're anything like me, I think I earn 50 Rand and spend 20. It's probably the other way around.
Yeah.
There is an opportunity to take that affordability to the next level by downloading your bank statements. But not many people do. So what it is really is getting eyes on credit score and triggering a Ooba consultant to get hold of you to take that qualification to the next level with supporting documents.
Okay, interesting. So how does Ooba's approach differ from applying directly through the bank? And well, you've kind of covered a bit of that, but what are the advantages of that to the
I mean, I think in a word, impartiality. We get paid regardless of which bank we place that customer with. So we don't have favorites. In a sentence, in a phrase, your banker works for the bank and Ooba Home Loans works for you.
Okay. Well, that's always a big bonus, absolutely. And just going back to the credit score insights again, how important is the credit score in the home loan process? And okay, you said what the minimum score is, so 610, but yeah.
So it's crucial, Howard. You know, the banks lend money based on risk, first and foremost. So they're either going to deem the client's risk rate below what's acceptable to borrow, or they are going to price in accordance with the client's risk rate. So we'll give you the bond, but we'll give it to you at a slightly loaded interest rate. Or we'll give you the bond, but we want skin in the game. We'll give you a 90% loan, come in with 10%. So credit score is paramount because it relates directly to risk, and it gives the banks a bird's eye view on how you're conducting your existing accounts.
Okay. All right. And so how does Ooba determine what a buyer can afford, and what tools are available to assist you with this?
So what we do is we apply the bank's formulas. So in the most conservative way possible, we are going to qualify you the way a bank would qualify you. So we are going to apply the two basic principles of affordability. We've discussed credit profile. We'll park that for now. So affordability is going to be based traditionally on 30% of gross earnings. So back before NCA, we used to say you earn 10 Rand, we'll allocate 3 Rand of that to a bond repayment and calculate your affordability from there. So post NCA, Howard, that's changed to include what we call net surplus. So if we take the same 10 Rand, after tax, it becomes 9 Rand, and we apply your existing expenses to that. So your expenses are 7 Rand. All of a sudden, that same 3 Rand we had to work with becomes 2 Rand, because that's what we've got left over once our financial commitments kick in. The banks will work on whichever of those two amounts are lower. So it's important we understand both gross and net.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no going back there with the banks. Never going to get you out of that one. And can you walk us through the steps involved in applying for a home loan through Ooba?
Sure. So I think, really the trigger point should be when a buyer starts looking. That's when the OBI, that's when the Ooba Bond Indicator, the qualified buyer certificate comes into play, because it is first and foremost a buyer-centric tool. Not only will you understand your affordability and creditworthiness, but you'll understand exactly what price range you should be shopping in as a buyer.
So you should
And I think really
houses that you can't afford to start with, yeah.
an exercise in heartbreak, Howard. Let's shop in the right price range. Either I'm going into Gucci or I'm going into Ackermans.
True.
I need to know.
Yeah.
So in addition to all of that, I think with a qualified buyer certificate in hand, the buyer doesn't always understand how powerful that is for an agent to negotiate on their behalf with a seller. So, a qualified buyer is almost more valuable than a cash buyer, because we know exactly the amount they can get, and that amount's been verified.
Yeah.
So always I say, before you start, certainly before you put in an offer, certainly before the agent presents the offer, do the exercise. But the home loan application process is simple. We receive the offer to purchase. Hopefully we were already in possession of your supporting documents. In the self-employed space, that alone can take a lot of time. And if you've got a short suspensive condition on an offer, it puts a lot of pressure on if we haven't had that conversation before. Application gets submitted to the various banks in line with the qualification criteria. And from there, the first answer is an approval in principle. So an approval in principle speaks to the client's creditworthiness, to their financial stability. And that is to say, we like what we see, we will give you in principle this loan amount. It is always going to be subject to a property valuation.
Okay, so then, yeah.
Because that's where the bank security lies, Howard.
Yeah. And
so we're finding
the value will come out and say, like, yeah, this is definitely worth 3 million, not the 2.5 or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the valuation process is there to protect the buyer from overpaying, or indeed purchasing a property that's in ill repair or in a high risk area, or whatever the banks deem their risk. to be in that space. We're finding a prevalence of the online desktop valuations, but in some cases, the physical valuation will still need to be carried out.
Yeah.
Approval in principle meets property valuation, and that proceeds to a final grant. So a final grant is the link between the two, and that's going to break down the terms and conditions, the interest rates, the loan terms, anything in addition, any conditions in addition to that. And I think that process, approval in principle from submission, 2 to 3 working days. Valuation is subject to access if it's physical, right? So that can be a moving target. But about 95% of our banks are giving us final grants within 5 working days of submission.
Sure, that's pretty good going these days.
Absolutely. Based on obviously a complete set of documents, that's the key.
Yeah, yeah. So what is Ooba's success rate in securing home loan approvals for clients?
So there are 2 different stats there. If there's a pre-qualification linked, so that's one step beyond the Ooba Bond Indicator, which we call our qualified buyer certificate. And the strength of that lies in the fact that we've got supporting documents in hand. Our approval ratio linked to a qualified buyer certificate is 93%. And our approval ratio across the board, qualified buyer certificate aside, is 82%.
Can't argue with those numbers, I guess. Yeah. Nice. And okay, you've mentioned this before, but the costs involved. So are there any fees associated with using Ooba services, or is it just entirely free for your applicants?
So, I mean, I think as human beings, I certainly am a little bit cynical. You know, how can we get this amazing free service that's going to save us all this time and money? Where's the catch?
Yeah.
Is human nature. So I think it's important that buyers understand that because we alleviate a lot of admin, and, you know, in the long term, we've been operating for 25 years, in some cases, even members of staff that the bank have to manage, by packaging the application, submitting it online, and doing a lot of that admin for them, they're able to pay us a fee. So the banks that we place the deal with actually pay us a referral commission. So there's no cost handed over to the buyer for the service. It is 100% free of charge. I always say, if it makes you feel better, I can generate an invoice.
Yeah. It was 0 bad.
Not many people take that offer up.
I don't think so, no. Well, that might be some fun thing to have, you know, put up on the wall with the rest of the plans and everything else that comes.
Love it.
And so what support does Ooba offer to first-time home buyers who might be, you know, really unfamiliar with this whole process?
I mean, I think it can be so intimidating. And, you know, we do carry a legacy of limited buyer education, which I think is a huge gap. So, you know, the sooner that a potential buyer or someone thinking of getting onto the property ladder can engage with an originator, the better, the more empowering it is. So in the first-time buyer space, it's really understanding credit score, affordability, and the process. So it's all about opening up that dialogue and being connected with someone that, as I mentioned, is completely impartial and is vested in their own buyer's interest, to hold their hand and guide them through the process from their first viewing all the way to registration.
Yeah, and obviously that's, you know, sort of one of my next questions is, once that home loan is approved, you know, what sort of services do you provide to your clients after, you know, the property has transferred?
So we're so vested in that buyer's journey, and our agents also are our partners. We also only get remunerated once that bond is registered in the deeds office. So our journey doesn't stop at bond grant.
Yeah.
The process does go from bond grant acceptance to bond attorney registration. So the attorneys will take over a lot of the legal side of registering that transaction. But if anything comes up, we are always available. It's not as if we put off our cell phones and block our email addresses. We're there to assist with anything and then be the go-between sometimes between the bank and the bond attorneys and the buyer.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think you've pretty much covered everything. I don't know if there's anything else that you've got. But yeah, thank you so much for your time today. It's been very, very interesting, and always appreciate your time and efforts you put into it.
Oh, such a pleasure, Howard. Thank you for having us, and we just want everyone to know that Ooba Home Loans is here to get the buyers the best deal and to keep the agents updated.
Thank you so much. Chat soon, and send small home loans your way.
Take care. Cheers, Howard.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Natasha, and providing such valuable insights into the home loan process. It's clear that Ooba offers a comprehensive and supportive service for home buyers in South Africa. For those watching, if you're planning to purchase a home and want expert assistance in securing the best possible bond, you should reach out to Ooba Home Loans. Their expertise and free services can make your home buying journey smoother and more successful. I've linked all of their contact details below in the description. And if you're considering buying in Hermanus or Boat River, call me on 082 923 2395. Every day I help people just like you to find their next home. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more informative content. Until next time, happy house hunting, and I'll see you in my next video.